Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Big Tree Forge. My name is Jesse, and this is part 6 of the John Deere R70 go-kart build. It is complete and ready for some test runs. Now, I'm going to go ahead and call it here, but did a little bit more research on that Tecumseh 8-horse, and turns out, like pretty much everything else, RPM is right around 3,600. So that means that if I calculated it for 30 miles an hour at 3,000 RPM, give or take, I should be in the 40-mile-an-hour neighborhood. Now, last time I said that I was going to go ahead and install the seat, run a little bit of electrical, so I'm going to show you that right now. First of all, kill switch. Very, very simple. Just a little toggle switch. One end is attached to the actual frame of the engine, because that essentially is attached to the motor, and that provides a ground. And then the other end is attached to this little wire right here. That little wire essentially grounds out the ignition and stops the engine. So with the obviously on position, it's running, off position, turns it off. So on to the creature comforts. There is a Cabela's boat seat that we've had laying around for a very, very long time. It is attached to a piece of plywood, which is then attached to some 1-inch square tube that's welded onto the frame. I got a little antsy and spray painted it and got everything, up and going here, just because I wanted to take it for a ride. To continue on with the red-necked system here, that's my throttle return bungee cord. It works. So it is ready to go down the street. Now, I've already taken it for a couple of spins here. I'm not going to reveal anything about numbers, but I'm going to go ahead and say world's fastest John Deere R70. Is it stock? Absolutely not. But I'm going to say this thing is going to be the world's fastest. Now, like in the realm of mathematics, if you can provide me with one example where it beats my numbers, well, then I'm disproven. So until I see those numbers, until I can find those numbers, I'm claiming that I own the world's fastest John Deere R70 go-kart, lawnmower, speed machine, death trap, call it what you will, call it what you want. Now, that being said, this motor is, I really don't know the condition of this motor. It runs, it goes, it pushes this thing along, but at the same time, this is an old HM80 Tecumseh. Now, what I'm going to end up doing here is the few test drives that I've actually taken this on, the front end is a pivot front end. So what it means is there is a pivot point in the center, and that allows the front axle to move up and down. Not up and down, just kind of pivot back and forth. What I'm going to do eventually is I'm going to widen the front track to about the same width, if not a little bit wider than the rear. Along with that, I'm actually going to weld in a couple of bars to make that front end solid. So right now I can go around a corner and it picks up one of the rear tires because of the weight transfer, and because this is an open diff, it definitely likes to spin one of the tires when you even take the slightest of corners. Now, as far as the power goes, I have a few different things that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to go ahead, port the intake, port the exhaust, put a different muffler on it, a high flow homemade muffler that I came up with here. I'm going to take the head off, and I'm debating whether I want to put it on the mill and shave the head a few thousandths. Along with that, I'm going to go ahead and put a copper head gasket on it. So a copper head gasket, ported head, or ported intake and exhaust, different muffler, and then probably I'm debating whether I'm going to do a torque converter or not. So that's what I got in store for this thing. Those other videos might not come until next year, because I want to drive this thing and beat on it for a while just to make sure that motor is going to hold up. So right now, it's finished, and episode 7 is going to be me taking this thing and beating on it and seeing what kind of numbers she's going to put down. I'm going to go for top speed, and then I got about maybe 153 or between 150 and 200 feet. Actually, you know what? I'm just throwing that number out there. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to try to do kind of like a predetermined drag race, if you call it. But yeah, just to see how fast I can get up, or how fast I can go from point A to point B, and that'll kind of give me an idea of my numbers for the motor itself. Now, when it comes to top speed, 3600 RPM is 3600 RPM. So it doesn't matter how much power that motor puts down. If I spin that shaft, the motor shaft, to 3600 RPM, it's always going to have the same top end, because those gears do not change. So when you see in the movies, and they press that nitrous button, and all of a sudden it goes an extra 50 miles an hour, that's completely false, because they're already at maximum RPM. But that's kind of irrelevant, besides the point. Right now, we're going to just see how fast it goes. We're going to see how fast it goes from point A to point B. And then we're going to do some modifications, possibly a torque converter, and do those tests again. So stay tuned for episode 7? 7. We'll call it 7. Stay tuned for episode 7. We're going to beat this thing up, test it out. Thanks for watching.